All right, folks, welcome to Nino'sCorner.tv. Well, I've got the man with me. The man of the hour is David Icke, the guy that started it all. The guy that was once looked at as crazy, insane, a nutcase, and now is looked at as a genius, and at least in my eyes. You know, I read his book probably when I was in sophomore in high school about the whole reptilian agenda. Folks, this guy was so over the bullseye. And, you know, I had this innate feeling. It resonated with me when I read that book. And I said, of course, this makes a lot of sense. This is the way it is. David Icke will be joining me today, and we're going to talk about the reptilian agenda. We're going to talk about the AI data centers popping up, the water it's taking. We're going to connect all the dots for my audience, how this goes hand in hand with an alien agenda. Yeah, I said that. Put on your tinfoil hats. It's going to be great. Folks, hit the notification button. Hit the notification button. Venmo. Yeah, I have a Venmo. D-Rod 1977. D-Rod 1977. Also, when the lights go out on Amazon, this talks about my boxing career, going from a top 10 contender from hero to zero and back up to hero, baby. My life, my trials and tribulations right there, folks, when the lights go out. And yes, I wrote this book on my own. I wrote it on my iPhone in a month time. I wrote it in 1 month, 300 something pages. Also my mama's book, and I appreciate the prayers, The Mexican Mix on Amazon, The Mexican Mix. Please leave an honest review. And folks, you've been asking me, what do I invest in? What do I get into? Well, gold and silver, we know that. And I have Noble Gold investments for that. But we also have a thing called tungsten. All right, this is the big one. While everyone's watching the weapon systems and the troop movements, the real battle is happening further upstream in the raw materials that make it all possible. Let's get into it. Every jet, every tank, and almost every piece of munition in some way contains something the U.S. hasn't mined in nearly a decade. The Pentagon through the DoD has spent close to $10 million to restart domestic tungsten production, and Trump signed the Project Vault, a 12 billion critical minerals stockpile aimed at breaking foreign dominance and reshaping the mining sector. And that's not all. An additional 30 billion was announced at the critical minerals ministerial to accelerate domestic production and secure strategic supply chains. America needs its own tungsten. The war in Iran has been a stark reminder just how much this is needed for the U.S. defense. Thousands of drones, missiles, and ammunition. Tungsten, it plays a huge, huge role, folks. This isn't just a metal, it's a national resilience. This is where Vault Strategic Mining comes into play, trading under KNOX in Canada and KNXFF in the U.S. They are building what could be the most strategic tungsten project portfolio across the U.S. Vault is built around a specific operating model. They acquire historic mines and use modern exploration techniques to maximize value. And with tungsten price at nearly record highs, they're in the right place at the right time. If you want to know more about this, folks, get to, it says right here, vaultstrategic.com. The link should be down below. If it's not up there now, I'll get it up later. But vaultstrategic.com, that's it. That's where you go. Get started on it, folks. I'm always ahead of the ball for you all. Nino'sCorner.shop. Nino'sCorner.shop. Look down below. You'll see the store down there. I got hats. I'm wearing one right now. Hats, hoodies, shirts. The whole shebang, baby. Yeah, the whole shebang. And Ringside with Nino is tonight. Tonight is Ringside with Nino. We got, you'll just see my big ugly mug on there. It's just me tonight. But it's going to be fun. It's always fun on Ringside with Nino. It's my Black Sheep family. We always, we network together. We war game the deep state war. It's a great time. And then the General's tent is tomorrow with Gene Decode. Gene Decode will be the general in the General's tent tomorrow, 5 p.m. So make sure you're getting your links. You should be getting your links in ninoscorner.tv. And folks, there's an 800. I think it's actually, I'll tell you right now because I just put it up on my X account. And it is, if you're having trouble with the site and you need somebody to help you along, customer service, folks, it's really easy. It is 276-900-1793. Yeah, that's our customer service on ninoscorner.tv. 276-900-1793. If you could put that up, Alex. 276-900-1793. 276-900-1793. Monday through Friday, 11 to 7 p.m. Eastern time. They'll be there to help you. That's the customer service. Sometimes you got to change your email if you're going to resubscribe again. I just got this information the other day, and I was like, oh, a lot of people are confused. So 276-900-1793. That's the customer service on ninoscorner.tv if you want to upgrade or resubscribe again. So there's that. Folks, I got Wano saving up on ninoscorner.tv. I got The Ghost. I got Daniel Brinkley going up today. I had issues with my internet last night, so I couldn't upload the video. Finally got it done early this morning, so it will be going up after this broadcast with David Icke. Mike Fury, defense contractor, giving us all the goods, what's going on behind the southern border into Cuba. And SLJ going out. Further ado, folks, you might want to turn it down or turn it up because I'm about to bring David Icke in here, baby. Oh, yeah. Coming at you live from the apocalypse, baby. Yeah. Let's go. David Icke, thank you so much for joining me, sir. It's an honor.
Val, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to talk to you. I posted your video earlier. I reposted it rather on X, which was quite a coincidence given I was just coming on. But it's interesting what's happened to the Rio Grande. Huh?
Let's play that for a second, Alex. You want to play that video because I'm getting a lot of heat for it. It's got 1.2 million views now. Basically, yeah. Go ahead and play it. All right, folks. I'm currently standing in the Rio Grande River right now. This is what it looks like right here. All dirt. All dirt. You're looking at an environmental catastrophe, what this is. The new Meta data center in Los Lunas, New Mexico, takes 75 million gallons per year to cool down the data center. And this is what we're left with. Another data center is being built in El Paso right now, a Facebook Meta data center. How much more water is that going to take? This is going to be, folks, this is apocalyptic. I've never seen a river like this. By this time of the year, you couldn't even swim in this. It would take you under. The undercurrent would take you out. This is unbelievable. No more water. So what does that mean for the farmland, the ranch lands, the cattle, the houses? I mean, are they soon going to start moving people out of this area? Are they going to start moving people out of here to what, 15-minute cities? You're not going to be able to survive out here. What's going to happen to the agriculture? Folks, what we're looking at here is unprecedented. We've never seen anything like this before. I'm sounding the alarm bells. This has never before happened. I've never seen it like this. Bone dry. Bone dry. All of it. Unbelievable. Better write your congressman because these politicians are as corrupt as they come, all getting paid off for this. So what does this mean? We're going to trade out humanity for AI so they can track and trace you better. And who's bringing this in? Well, it looks like to me, Trump is taking down the deep state, right? He's going after Obama. He's going after everybody, but he's replacing it with AI data centers, ruining the environment. I think that's good, Alex. This used to be. So, folks, first of all, that's my opinion. And yes, I understand the river goes dry at certain parts of the year, but it's never been dry during an April, May, like what I'm witnessing. I've ran that river when I was boxing, and it'd be full of water by this time, and it should have been full of water by a couple months ago. There's pecan orchards all around the area, so I know what I'm looking at. I live here. David, so I see a catastrophe forming. I see something that, it's almost like a hostile takeover happening right underneath our noses. And it's happening in the warp lightning speed.
Yeah. And, if people just take a breath and just take a step back and looking at it dispassionately, what's happening is blatantly obvious. There is a anti-human agenda. If you look at all the things that humans need to survive, they're all being targeted. I mean, on one level, all these kind of woke people in Silicon Valley, they are saying there's a human-caused global warming catastrophe, and we must cut back on our energy use to save the planet. At the same time, the same bloody people are putting up these data centers, which are going to demand fantastic amounts of energy. They're going to demand, as we're seeing, fantastic amounts of water, which in terms of fresh water is a limited resource. And then you say, okay, they want to dismantle the society that we have now and replace it with another one, which is the AI digital AI human fusion control agenda. So if you were looking at human society and you were saying, okay, we need to transform it, we need to completely dismantle it, how do we do that? Well, first thing you do is you say, well, what's it dependent upon? What's life as we know it now dependent upon? It's dependent upon energy and the supply of energy and the relatively cheap supply of energy. So you target that. First of all, you have the war in Iran, which is limiting the amount of energy in circulation, also fertilizer, etc. You're also putting up these phenomenal bloody data centers to take more energy out of the system. You look at the targeting of farmers, not just in America, but around the world. What do farmers produce? They produce food. What do humans need? Food, as well as water. You then cut off through the Strait of Hormuz fertilizer, which or you make it fantastically more expensive. So, places like the Netherlands, the government is what we call in this country compulsorily purchasing, I think you call it eminent domain in America, vast amounts of farmland. They just, no, you've got to sell it to us. Well,
So
do what with it? Produce food? Oh no, we probably won't produce food with it. Who's the biggest owner of farmland in America? Apparently,
I think China, right?
Well, also Bill Gates
And Bill Gates.
But then you've got, as you say there, you've got Trump saying it's okay for China to buy farmland. Basically, what's happening is two things: the basics of human life are being reduced, and it's a simple equation: dependency equals control. Because dependency makes you dependent on who can supply what you're dependent upon, and therefore they control you. So you've got this whole system unfolding now, where the state is in control of everything, or no, more relevant than that which controls the state, because the state people, like politicians, are just here today, gone tomorrow, gophers. And so you then look at, okay, but at least we've still got our minds. We can still think. We can still see what's going on. Oh, really? Well, what do you think AI human fusion is about? It's about, and they're openly talking about this now. They're talking about the fact that by 2030, this is a guy called Ray Kurzweil. His yellow book there is behind me on that shelf. He is a Google executive, and he's been saying for some time that by 2030, AI will be connected to the human brain, and from that moment, humans or AI will do more and more of human thinking until human thinking is negligible.
So hold on.
That is a direct bloody quote.
Dave, so in other words, this is feeding right into the transhuman agenda, right? Which is why I think they condition us first for the whole LGBTQ, trans this, trans that. I think that was a conditioning process to accept this new coming transhuman agenda, which everyone will be jumping on board with, the merging into the machine, correct?
Yeah, and I just posted something on the internet that Elon Musk is talking about. I mean, Elon Musk, I wouldn't trust him to tell me the time in a room full of clocks. Absolutely. And I've been saying this since way back, long before he was allowed to buy Twitter, now X, a long time back, because the man was obviously a front man for this this whole deep state agenda, as people talk about, and he's obviously not running his companies. I mean, he's running all those companies. What one? Yeah, okay. They're being run by other people and other forces. He's just the bloody front man.
He's the Iron Man character. He's the Robert Downey Jr. Playboy, right? That's how I see it. He's just kind of that's why I think that movie even came out. I swear, I really believe someone's playing us.
Well, these people are supposed to be smart. That's the new latest word. Everyone's got to be smart. Well, have you ever heard Elon Musk bloody interviewed? Have you heard Peter Thiel interviewed? And all these characters, Mark Zuckerberg, I mean, these people are not smart. What they are is front men for those in the background that are really running the show. So what he's been saying in the last few days, Elon Musk, is that the situation with the American debt of 39 trillion, whatever it is now, is you basically can't do anything about that. So the only way that it can be sorted is through AI. Now, if you remember, and I did call this at the time, if you remember, it was Elon Musk who said, years ago, AI, it could be the end of humanity. Yes, it could. And that's the idea in terms of humanity as we know it. And you, Mr. Musk, bloody well know it and have known it all along. Now, suddenly, it could be the end of humanity. He's now turned X into an AI promotion platform. He's constantly pushing AI as the only way to sort things out. And you see these court cases and stuff between Musk and Altman and other little tiffs that they have in this Silicon Valley tech bro arena. But actually, take one step back in the shadows, mate, and they're all controlled by the same people and pushing it into the same direction of AI human fusion control, and also digital control of everything, including money. And so what we're looking at with what Musk has said there is something that it was a phrase I coined back in the 1990s: problem, reaction, solution. Create the problem, blame someone else for it, hide the fact that you've created it, get the reaction from the public of outrage, of fear, of whatever, and do something. Something must be done. And then you, who have covertly created the problem, then offer the solutions to the problems you have covertly created. And they are solutions that push you further on in your control agenda and your authoritarian dystopia agenda. And so what they've done is they're crashing the global economy. Problem. We've got a problem. Not our fault. We're just reacting to it. Do something. AI is the way that we can solve the problem, which we actually covertly created. So this is what's happening in front of our eyes. And behind it all, and this is the key, behind it all, deep in the shadows, is a non-human force that is orchestrating all this, and that's why it is an anti-human agenda, because it's ultimately being orchestrated by a non-human force.
All right, let me ask you about this, because this is very important. First of all, I want to give you a theory that I have that I believe is going to start happening in warp speed, probably start happening right now. First of all, they're going to pass the bill on to the people, right? We're going to be paying for and our taxes, the whole thing for these data centers.
Larry Fink of the WEF, the World Economic Forum, and BlackRock has said exactly that this week.
Yeah, and Vanguard. Yeah, they're all. This is what they're going to do. They're going to pass it on to us, and at the same time, start taking jobs away. You know, we have 2 Amazon centers opening up here in El Paso, and we have a Meta data center. And I've heard the jobs are like 50 to 100. The rest is going to be ran by AI. You would think that it would be bringing in thousands and thousands of jobs. No, very limited jobs. So here's my point. These AI now, and I want to get your opinion on this, is going to be taking away lower to middle end jobs, right? They know this. They know that that's going to spike crime, especially with the minorities here, right? And I believe this is all engineered to, okay, well, we're going to start building huge mega prisons, the immigration camps like CCOT in El Salvador, to where anybody who gets out of hand, well, AI now is policing everything. AI takes out all the crime. So, perceivably, we'll be like, well, I don't cause any trouble. That person that next door to me doesn't. Oh, I could live I could live a life with less crime. Sure, everyone's for that. But then, that's just the first part of the low-hanging fruit. And then they start going for the people that, well, what is a criminal? Who decides what's a criminal and what's not? Oh, you're late on your taxes. Oh, your social credit score is not up to par. Oh, you have a DUI. Ooh, this is now, look at the cars that are coming out in 2027. It's going to be all AI ran. It's going to read your face and decide if you're able to drive or not. But do you see how they're just inch by inch and then mile by mile going to be taking away all our rights?
Yeah, well, once you see the bigger picture of the spectrum, the panorama, rather than just the myopia, it's just an open book. I mean, take the autonomous cars. Okay, at the moment, you can get in your car, we put petrol in it if you can, and you can drive it pretty much where you like. I mean, there are no-go zones in military operations, etc., but you can pretty much drive where you like, and you can go out into the countryside and whatever. But the reason for electric cars, nothing to do with saving the bloody world. That's just the excuse. All problem reaction solutions need an original excuse to set the sequence in train. So you need electric cars for cars driven by a computer. That's why you want electric cars, and all this stuff about it save the environment, load of old rubbish. And Musk again will know that. So the idea is that you get in an autonomous car, and what you're seeing, of course, as you rightly say, as step by step, every time a new model comes out, year on year, more and more of it is autonomous. More and more of it is run for you. And less of the driver. And that's moving towards, step by step, the totalitarian tiptoe, as I call it, to autonomous cars. Now, you get an autonomous car, and now you've got to tell the computer where you want to go. But the computer is programmed to dictate where you can and cannot go. And it will be lots of places you currently do go. And this is how they are going to cut down and dramatically reduce, 15-minute cities is an example of it, the freedom of movement that people have. People have no idea how utterly dystopian and totalitarian this agenda is that they're heading towards. And these people, these tech bros, and by the way, do you notice this week they're now saying there's a new crime group called basically tech terrorists.
Wait, was Kevin O'Leary the one saying this?
Yeah, that they will be targeting the data centers, and that's going to be tech terrorism.
Because, well, hold on, because they're getting ahead of the ball because they know people are going to be outraged at this shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're gonna start labeling. I saw this, and Kevin O'Leary said they're going to start going after people that speak out against the tech centers, right, or something like that.
Yeah, well, they better not come near me then, because they're going to have to tie me down and hold me down to shut me up, I tell you, because we need to get not intimidated by this crap, but louder and louder and louder and more organized in our response to it. And realize, oh, goodness me, realize, please, it doesn't matter what religion you are. It doesn't matter whether you're left or right. It doesn't matter what your culture is. They're coming for all of us. And if we go on allowing ourselves to be divided and ruled through these fault lines that are there to divide and rule us, then they're going to get what they want. I mean, just ask yourself, mate, how can a relative handful, and it is a relative handful compared with the apparently 8 billion people in the world, how can a handful comparatively control 8 billion people? Mathematically, that's absolutely impossible. It becomes possible when the 8 billion acquiesce to the few. It either
hold on, Dave. Well, hold on. You said yourself, and I am a believer in this. This is coming from outside the human race.
Yeah,
this is from a much smarter species. Let's talk about that for a moment, because who's really in charge here? If you go and look at the mummies they're pulling out of Peru, the elongated skulls, the giants, the giant bones that they've excavated since the 1800s. It's obvious to me that there's a part of history that nobody is talking about, that these creatures have always been here. They've lived in, I don't know if the inner earth, or they've walked among us. They still are today. What's your thoughts on that? Who are these creatures? Is there a diverse many of them? Do you go along with the Nephilim? Are they the fallen angels, or are they just aliens from other planets, other dimensions? And is it any coincidence that AI is taking over right now as UFO disclosure comes in?
No, absolutely not. And the thing about UFO disclosure, as I've been saying for so long, is authority lies to you. That's what it does, because that's its job. Therefore, what they disclose about anything is what they want you to see, not what there is to see. And so you have you'll have these disclosures, these UFO or UAP, they call them now, disclosures, but they won't be telling you what's happening. They'll be telling you a version of what they want you to think is happening. And so if I just very quickly break down the structure that I'm saying, and I've said for decades, is running the world. First of all, you go out into another dimension of reality. Many people in the esoteric world call it the astral dimension. And when people talk about other dimensions, like they talk about heaven, they tend to look up, will I go to heaven? But it's not like that. The creation, or our part of creation, if you like, is operates like radio and television stations in the analog system. They operate on different wavelengths, different frequencies. So, for instance, if you have a radio and you turn the dial to radio A, you're going to get radio A. You're not going to get radio B, C, and D. You're just going to get that. And then you move to radio B and you get that. But Radio A hasn't ceased to broadcast just because you've moved the dial. It still exists. It's still broadcasting. And in the same way, creation as we experience it is broken up into wavelengths, frequencies that share the same space without interfering with each other unless they're very close on the dial. And it's those close parts where two dimensions are kind of interacting. That's where you get the whole ghost phenomenon and what have you. So in this other dimension, you've got this non-human force, and it takes many forms. There's a reptilian form. There's what they call the Nordics, which are a version of a human, or humans are a version of it. They are they can be mistaken for being human-like, although they can be very tall. You have the Greys, which is, I think there's a very good chance, the more that I kind of research this, that they're actually a form of AI.
Of AI, yeah.
In a much more advanced way. In fact, you know, I've talked to U.S. military people who've interacted with reptilians and Greys in underground bases, and they say that they used to refer to the Greys as the drones for this very reason. And so you've got this this astral level which interpenetrates this one, where the whole thing's being orchestrated from. And then you come into the human level and you meet what I call the global cult, which is a vast global network of secret societies that is fiercely compartmentalized, so that most of the people in it don't know the big picture. It's all the need to know basis it all operates on, and the degrees of knowledge. That's what they are, you know. Oh, what's your degree in your secret society? Well, what that means is, what's your degree of knowledge that you're allowed to have? So you then have this global structure. So if people could just visualize a web, very appropriate, around the earth, and every strand is either a secret society, a semi-secret group, or companies, institutions, governments, government agencies that we see in the public arena. And in the middle of the web is the spider, and the spider is that other dimensional force. You then have the strands immediately around the spider and interacting with the spider. That's what Satanism is doing. And they are the most exclusive secret societies. Many of them don't have names, makes them harder to identify. You then come out from the spider, and now you're into the secret societies that we do know about. We may not know exactly what they do and what their game is, although you can ascertain that if you do enough research. And you're looking at the Knights Templar, the Knights of Malta, Opus Dei. You're looking at the inner core of the Jesuit order, and there's many secret societies that in Skull and Bones at Yale, etc. So you're coming out now from the spider, and the spider is dictating the agenda. And the agenda's coming out through the secret societies. And then you meet what I call the cusp in the web. The cusp is where the hidden part of the web meets the seen part of the web. And in that cusp, you've got the World Economic Forum, you've got the Bilderberg Group, the United Nations inner core is in that group. You've got the Council on Foreign Relations in America. You've got the Trilateral Commission. You've got the Club of Rome that was established in 1968 by these people, by this cult, to use environmental concerns to justify centralization of power, because constant centralization of power is massively central to this game, because the more you centralize power, the fewer people have control over more and more, right? So also in this cusp are the think tanks, like the Project for the New American Century that was behind all that stuff leading up to 9/11 and afterwards. You have the non-governmental organizations, including those run by the Soros family. And the cusp's job is to take, and again, all these organizations in the cusp are fiercely compartmentalized. Most people don't know the big picture of what they're doing. The idea that of the cusp is to take the agenda coming through the secret societies and to project it into the public arena as changes in government policy and government law, etc. And so now you coming this far out of the web, you're now hitting governments, government agencies, Silicon Valley, World Health Organization, and World Trade Organization, etc., etc. All these global bodies. And so, again, all these organizations, including the World Health Organization, is fiercely compartmentalized. And most of the people go into work, do their job, do what levels above them tell them their job is and what they're going to do, and then they go home. They're not trying to manipulate anybody. They just want to earn a living for their families. But if you go deep enough in these organizations, you hit that level of the web. And at that level, they're all on the same team. So at that level, the United States government is Silicon Valley, is the Bilderberg Group, is all these organizations that I'm talking about, and that applies globally. So, for instance, when a alleged virus
be careful here because it is YouTube.
I'll be careful. I know you've asked me not to talk about it. It's such a great example, but I won't use the dreaded word, although I always use that word in quotes, by the way.
Boogeyman. Just say the boogeyman.
Yeah. So you had the World Health Organization immediately give you the version that you need to believe so that they can get what they want. At the same time, if you remember, Silicon Valley corporations, the social media corporations, were saying, I know because they banned me from everything, that we will censor anyone that challenges the World Health Organization version of events and or challenges the version given out by the health authorities in the different countries. And the health authorities in different countries' version of it was the United Nations. So it was the World Health Organization's version of it. So you had suddenly a centrally, globally orchestrated message and therefore response from authority. Now, you would think, if you were looking at it and didn't understand the web, that the Silicon Valley corporations were supposed to be the town square, as you say in America, where opinions are shared. But now they're censoring right at the start what the World Health Organization said. Why? Because if you go deep enough in the World Health Organization, and who is a massive player in that, Bill Gates and the Rockefellers, who basically own Bill Gates, I would suggest. Their families go way back. And so at that level of the World Health Organization, they attach to the web. Now, you go deep enough into the Silicon Valley corporations, and they'll attach to the web. And so at that level, the web is censoring on behalf of the web. So the web agenda narrative is not challenged. And this is going on everywhere all the time.
And that's what's coming with these data centers.
Yes, exactly. So you've got this web that is orchestrating the data centers. Why? Because they're orchestrating the complete control of humanity via AI human fusion and AI digital control of everything. I remember, because I was born in 1952, to 7 years after the Second World War, and you used to ring people up at companies and you talk to a human being. And then you started talking to tapes, or tapes started talking to you. And now it's all AI. And so the takeover is unfolding every day, hour by hour, before our eyes.
And we're becoming so dependent on it. I mean, I'm dependent on it sometimes where I'm like, man, I can't think about this today. I'll throw something in AI and it spits something out. I'm like, that sounds good. I'll use that. Dave, let me ask you, let's
just one thing very quickly. So what you're looking at is this force orchestrating from another dimension, this non-human force, working through this network within human society to impose step by step this direction of travel towards total human control. Now, billions of people, you've said it already rightly, billions of people don't want this. People in communities in America and around the world, they don't want these data centers. But that which controls the decision making has decided this is going to happen, and what the mass of the population think is irrelevant to those people, and therefore it gets imposed. This is what's going on, and when people say, well, why are they doing this when everybody doesn't want it? That's why.
So you were I watched your first, what I call your first real big interview with Arizona Wilder, way back. I think that was in the 90s, if I can remember correctly.
Yeah, 1989, something like that.
Crazy. Like that struck a nerve with me. I knew she was telling the truth. First of all, I don't know if she's still alive or not, and maybe you can give us an update on her.
Sorry, 1999, not 1989.
1999, yeah. But what, let's get my audience up to date on this, because you had a stellar interview with her where she actually witnessed, I believe, the royal family shape-shifting, correct? Shape-shifting and devouring human beings. Am I right in saying that? Like she said, they were shape-shifting into reptilians. I want my audience to know that people have seen these entities.
Yeah, the thing is that that was one example, but I'm not basing what I'm saying on one example. I have come across phenomenal numbers of people over the years. I've been doing this now for 36 years full time, who have had the same experience. I talked to a close friend for 9 years of Princess Diana, who told me exactly the same of how the royals shift into this non-human form in the rituals, in the satanic rituals. And if I could just put this into some kind of context, I've had to research so many different subjects to get some idea of what's going on. And one of them, crucial, is the nature of reality itself. And what I'm seeing now is more and more scientists who were kind of rejecting it before, who are saying, well, actually, it does look like this is some kind of simulated illusion. Right. Well, it bloody well is, right? And it can be explained in detail. So what is this reality? There is no such thing. Quantum physics has explained this in some detail. There is no such thing as solidity. what we are experiencing is holographic, and the resistance we feel between different states, like I feel resistance against that wall, is electromagnetic. It's not actually solidity, but we are constantly decoding this matrix simulation, which is a field of information, into how we experience it. I am going somewhere with this, because this is necessary to explain shapeshifting, which if this was a solid world, be impossible. So what we're doing, well, let me put it this way, it'd be much simpler. What I'm seeing very clearly is that the technological unfolding of this advanced technology of computerization, AI, digital, etc., it's mimicking and mirroring technologically the very reality that we experience and how we experience it. For instance, if there was Wi-Fi in this room, it would be a field of radiation which I can't see, which wouldn't be able to see because it's outside of this tiny narrow band that scientists call visible light, which is all we can see. Everything outside of visible light is we can't see. So we're only seeing this tiny band of frequency, and it is tiny. It's ridiculously tiny, and infinity exists beyond this tiny band of frequency in the same space. This is the point. But anyway, you are looking at this radiation field encoded with phenomenal amounts of information called Wi-Fi, which is the internet. Now, if I get a piece of kit called a computer, it taps in to that field of information and it puts it on the screen in a totally different form to how it exists in the Wi-Fi field. It decodes it. Now, then the question is, okay, so where's our computer then? Well, here it is. When you look at how we experience reality, our five senses lock in to this this simulation field of information, and they interact with it on a level of frequency. It's a frequency field, just like Wi-Fi. What happens then is the five senses, and they all work the same, change that frequency information into an electrical information, same information, different form, and they send it to the brain. There's different parts of the brain that specialize in decoding the different senses, and then the brain puts together this sense of reality. So, I mean, fantastic as it may seem, when we appear to be experiencing something outside of us, we're actually experiencing it in here. Now, imagine if you, at the core of this cult, know that, with its non-human masters, know that, but you keep it from the population who think they're interacting with solidity. I mean, that very foundation of sense of reality has immediately completely bamboozled your senses. For instance, I'm speaking now, but there's no words passing between us. What's passing between us is a frequency field of information that's generated by my vocal cords. The ears then pick up those sound waves, which actually are going out through the electrical system. What everything's electrical, including the brain. So the ears are picking up those sound waves, frequencies, turning them into electrical information, sending them to the brain, and the brain then hears words, depending on the language that it's been programmed to understand. And so the reality that we're experiencing is absolutely nothing like we appear to be experiencing it. So the human body is also a frequency field of information. And what we're doing, what this process I've described is doing, is decoding that information into a apparently three-dimensional world of interaction. And thus, when I'm looking at you with a field of information that is the human body, then I am seeing a human body. We're doing that all the time in this decoding process when we don't realize we're actually decoding. These bloodlines are hybrids. They are part that they have one field that is human in its information, and they have another field which is non-human in its information, right? So, of course, these people are putting their human field before people in the public arena. In the rituals, it's very different because they're among people that know, so they don't have to do that. But they're putting the human field forward. So any observer, decoder, is seeing a human. But when, and my goodness me, I've talked to so many people around the world about this experience, when that other field becomes the dominant one, the observer begins to decode that into an apparently, well, what is holographic form, apparently physical form. And so
is this why they're breaking shape and form? Is this why they're the frequencies heightening, the awakening is happening, and we're starting to see them for what they truly are?
Well, there's a lot in that, and I'll come to that very shortly. But the point is that to the observer, someone has gone from a human form to a non-human form in solidity, because that's what it looks like. And that's what people describe around the world, and then can't understand. I couldn't have seen that. Well, what's going on?
Well, the Indians talked about it. Skinwalkers, shapeshifters. The Indians have talked about it. Right?
It's ancient. It's ancient. It's ancient because these entities have been running the show since, in terms of our perception of time, way back, and thus they have been identified by the ancients endlessly. I mean, I'm talking thousands of years ago. There are tablets in which all this is described.
Well, hold on, David.
Out of Sumer in
that was going to be my next question. Is the Sumerian tablets? The cuneiform tablets talk about. They even talk about like a firmament, and they talk about the watchers above. And I can't help but think, it's almost like this existence is just this huge grand experiment. And, do you believe that these entities are just almost like using this as like a video game? I mean, I'm trying to understand.
Well, let me. This might put another angle on that. Obviously, as all this stuff was unfolding, remember, I've been doing this for 36 years. I've been to 60 odd countries till they started banning me from loads of them. And so I've talked to endless people. I've done endless research. I mean, I get up in the morning and I research and I go to bed. What I obviously asked was, okay, simulation, what's the point? Why would you bother to do it? Why would you go to all this trouble? And then it started to emerge. This will start to explain satanic ritual too. What starts to emerge is that these entities, these astral entities particularly, are feeding off human energy. but it's a particular type. Overwhelmingly, it's a particular type. Now, mainstream science is well aware of the fact that every time we think and every time we feel emotion, we are generating frequencies. What do we call them? Vibes. Oh, he seemed an all right chap, him, but I got bad vibes off him. Yeah, because you're feeling what's coming off him. You can hide with your facial features, your demeanor. You can hide your true self. You can't hide what you're giving off, because that's an energetic field that relates to the real nature of you. So, I got bad vibes. He was very nice, but I got bad vibes. So this is how these vibes are, these frequencies we give off. And these entities feed off that those frequencies. They feed off that energy, but they particularly want, my goodness me, does this explain the world? They particularly want a certain frequency of energy, because
fear, right? Fear.
Yeah, they are themselves in a low frequency state. That's why they are what they are. That's why they do what they do. And therefore they can only really feed off that frequency which they basically operate on. It's like two radio stations again. And so what they're doing through this cult network is they are creating, and just look back through history and it's so blatant. They are creating events constantly to generate a human reaction of fear, anxiety, resentment, regret, hatred, conflict, war, of course, which is going to generate this low vibrational energy that they're feeding off. So
are they demonic? Are these entities demonic? Could we go back to the biblical here and say that these are the fallen? These are the demonic entities, the laggard souls. For my Christian audience to understand this, right? I mean, would you say that?
Put it this way: they're very good to their mother. They never go home. They're not nice people. They're not nice. No. There's lots of nice people, but that doesn't include them. So they're feeding off this low vibrational energy, and this cult is constantly generating events and happenings to elicit those low vibrational emotional states, because these vibes we give off through thought and emotion. The vibration of them, the frequency of them, relates to the nature of the emotion and the thought. So, for instance, when you are in a state of joy and happiness and peace and appreciation, people say, "Oh God, I feel so light today." Why? Because the frequencies going through your energetic field are at high, quick frequencies. You feel light. Then in your state of depression or fear and all these low vibrational energies, people say, "Oh, I feel so dense today. I feel so, what's happening is the frequencies are low and slow going through your energetic field, and you feel a density. You feel completely different to when you're in another state of being. It's that low, slow frequency they want to
perpetually keep us into.
And so when the Morpheus character in the first Matrix movie held up the battery and said, "The Matrix is a computer-generated dream world built to turn humans into this," it was a profound truth within an apparently fictional movie. It was a lot less fictional than it would have appeared to many people. And the whole relationship to satanic ritual is the same. Basically, the more low vibrational energy we generate, how much low vibrational energy was generated in the First World War, Second World War, the Great Depression, post October the 7th in Gaza, etc., etc. Enormous amounts. I mean, just to give you an idea of the power of human energy collectively, which they're feeding off. When 9/11 happened, there were sensors all around the world that were measuring the electromagnetic field of the Earth. And in that period, when the world was starting to see what had happened on 9/11, in that period, the spike in the electromagnetic field was colossal because of the impact of the reaction, the emotional reaction of the people on collectively, globally, on the electromagnetic field of the Earth. So if we come now to satanic ritual, in the early 90s, when I was putting together the level of this, which was the global cult, the fact that presidents and prime ministers are just gophers and here today, gone tomorrow people, I started to see that key players in this cult were taking part in satanic ritual. There were two real common themes with them. One was satanic ritual. The two are connected, big time connected. And in many ways, the satanic level is the cement that holds this whole cult together. This is why you see things like the Epstein and you see things like Jimmy Savile in Britain, who was a bosom buddy of the British royal family, and he used to procure children for the rich and famous. That was something that didn't come out with the Jimmy Savile thing in Britain. You got the Dutro satanic child situation in Belgium, and what's happening is these just come to light every now and again. The fact is, it's a global network, and it not only generates vast amounts of low vibrational energy, it also can be used to blackmail people into conforming to what is demanded that they do. So when I saw that these rich and famous people in this cult were taking part in satanic ritual, obviously the first thing is, why? What's going on? But then I've talked to people across the world over the decades who've experienced these rituals, either against their will or eventually they've seen the bloody light.
Arizona Wilder being one of them.
Yeah, one of them. Yeah, but loads and loads beyond that in many different countries actually around the world. And the common themes are incredibly compelling in what they describe, including the shape-shifting, right? So anyway, I then they tell me that they are interacting with these entities. And what are they? They are astral entities. They're these entities. Whether it's ancient times and or in many other areas, including Hinduism, even now, you have this concept of a pantheon of gods. So you have the Greek pantheon with Zeus, you have the Egyptian pantheon, you have the Roman pantheon. And what you then see as you do the research is that these pantheons of gods were bloody everywhere, but they were under different names because it was different cultures, different groups, nations, tribes, but they were describing the same people. And so these pantheons of gods are these entities that I'm talking about. And these reformed Satanists and people that did it against their will were talking about how in the major rituals, they create an energetic field that allows these entities to come into our dimension, not for very long often, but enough to actually see them. And, they're described as reptilian, they're described as hideous in many ways, not just reptilian. And so when I was looking at these cultists in our reality, our world, involved in satanic ritual. I then looked back and I thought, well, the ancients were doing human sacrifice rituals just like now.
The Aztecs.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a great example. But all over the world, they were doing human sacrifice rituals as a gift to the gods. And you think, well, what's the gift? And then you then
even in the old Bible, in the Old Testament, they're sacrificing animals to God.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this is it. But why? This is the question. The what is a good thing to know. But the context of the what always comes from the why. Why do they do the what? And it's the why that opens up the field to see what's actually going on. So they were doing the ancients were doing these sacrifice rituals of overwhelmingly children, just as they do now, because there is they want a child's energy before puberty, because we see puberty as a chemical change, but actually it's a frequency change in the field of the child that triggers a chemical change in the body. And so they want that energy before it makes that change. That's their kind of nectar, if you like. And so in the ancients were sacrificing young virgins to the gods, children. They're still doing it. And so you then ask the question, okay, why? What's this gift that the gods are getting? And then you look at it this way. If I'm looking at someone in a real emotional state of terror, of fear, of whatever, I can see from their facial features and their body language that they're in an emotional state. What I can't see, because it's outside of visible light, is the vibration, the frequencies they're giving off as a result of that, because that is going into the astral dimension. That's its frequency. And what happens is these, while the satanic ritual is going on in our reality, in our frequency band, if you like, from the astral, they are overseen by these entities, and they get the ritual and they perform the rituals in a way that generates maximum terror in the victim, because terror is a very powerful low vibrational energy which these entities feed off. And so this is the gift to the gods. You've got the satanic ritual in the human realm, and then you've got these entities overseeing it that are feeding off the energy coming off the victim. This is the gift to the gods. And what also happens with terror, states of terror, is it triggers adrenaline to enter the blood, and that's what the Satanists drink. And so many people have described the high that these Satanists get when they.
That was actually in that movie Fear and Loathing in Vegas with Benicio del Toro and Johnny Depp. They actually talked about it. They put it out there. I mean, yeah, this stuff is
and this people talk about all the time in terms of what goes on in Washington and elsewhere. This is what's going on now. The thing is that what is happening is, first of all, the nature of reality, but also what's happening day by day is so fantastic that most people cannot literally get their heads around it being possibly happening. Because of this, what they've done is they've created two worlds within one world. One world is the world of the cult, and that is fiercely compartmentalized along the levels of degree. But the inner circle has passed across the generations the nature of reality and how it really works and operates, and the agenda for where humanity is being taken. So that's how they pass on the agenda in secret. If you do the research again, you find that these cultists created, not least the Rockefellers and the education system in America, they created the sources of information that the target population get. They created the education system, programming system. They created the media and now own the media. Now it's in fantastically few hands. Just ask Larry Ellison. He'll tell you what he's been given by Trump in terms of the media. And so you do two things. You're passing on advanced knowledge to the chosen in the cult, and you're keeping the population ignorant of what you know. And that's why when people like me have uncovered what they're doing and how they're doing it, and have passed it on to the public massively have rejected it, different now, but they've massively rejected it, because one of the greatest forms of mind control is to squeeze the sense of the possible. If you can squeeze the sense of the possible, then people will reject what's actually happening because they cannot conceive that it could possibly be happening. There's a great a quote by a German philosopher called Arthur Schopenhauer, who said basically every man misjudges, I'm just paraphrasing, misjudges the what is possible by his own field of vision. In other words, what they perceive to be possible and what is possible are not the same thing. And that's what we need to get our heads around.
So you've talked to people close to Princess Diana. My mind just went straight there for some reason. Princess Diana, what did she know, Dave? I mean, it looked to me like she was running away from that family. She was terrified of what things that she came across or learned about being a part of that family. Princess Diana was very close to Michael Jackson. I think they both knew the inner workings of the elite, of the Illuminati. What can you say about Princess Diana? I mean, obviously,
well, I met her once. I was a presenter on the first breakfast television program. It was called Breakfast Time on the BBC in Britain. And this will seem strange to Americans, I'm sure, but we used to start our television like mid-morning at one time. There was no television at breakfast. And then suddenly the BBC decided they were going to do this breakfast show. And as a result, there was a lot of publicity about it and a lot of fanfare and stuff. Anyway, a few days into it, Princess Diana arrived for a royal visit to the new Breakfast Time show. And I was introduced to her. First of all, it struck me how tall she was. But what really struck me, and this is not at a time when I, from 1990, when my head blew off and I started to see all this. It was before. I mean, I was very skeptical of authority. I've been all my life, but I wasn't talking about this stuff. But what shocked me when I saw her was the fear in her eyes. I was kind of taken aback by it. And later, when I started to research her background, I realized why. The British royal family, like all royal families, I mean, let's just ask this question. Why are they royal families? Why is the aristocracy the aristocracy? Why do royal families interbreed with each other? Why do aristocracy tend to...
Bloodline, keep that bloodline, right? That
bloodline. They're trying to hold a bloodline. They're trying to hold the hybrid bloodline, because if you procreate, interbreed outside of it, it gets diluted, and they don't want that. That's why they interbreed with the genetically suitable people, but have the people they really want to be with on the side, which was, of course, the case with Diana and Charles. So, so what this lady told me, who was acknowledged in the media as a close friend of Diana for 9 years, and I was what had happened is I'd been to America, and I had this strange experience because I was traveling every day. I wasn't speaking to anybody; no one wanted to know, but I was traveling every day from place to place to talk, and I kept meeting people. It's a period of 15 days. I met 12 separate people in different places who said they'd had this same experience of seeing someone apparently human turn into a reptilian figure and then back again. And then I came home, and I met someone about some totally different subject to talk to her. It was about Satanism and her experiences of Satanism. And then she started telling me about the fact that the British Prime Minister, who took us into the European Union, a guy called Ted Heath, had shapeshifted in front of her. And this went on and went on. And then for some strange reason, I was asked, well, it was one of these people that likes getting people together, I guess. I was invited to meet people at the House of Lords, and they were just a small group, House of Lords in London, never been there before. And I turn up, and they were having a chat, and it was all right. But the thing that struck me was there was a lady in the group. She wasn't a politician or a lord, who started saying very interesting things about Princess Diana's death, right? So I took her over afterwards, how do you know that? And she said that her best friend had been Diana's best friend for 9 years. And she said, I think she'll talk to you. And a few days later, she gets off the boat on the Isle of Wight and comes there. And I actually still have somewhere the reel-to-reel audio tape of the interview. And I did another chat with her later as well. And I said nothing. I'd just come back from America and with this theme of the reptilians. And I said nothing to her at all about what I'd experienced. And then she started talking about the fact that, the royal family they're hybrids. They're part reptilian. Of course, I played the idiot because I don't want to. Oh no, I know about no. What do you mean? What do you mean? What? And she told me in great detail about them and conversations she had with Diana on that subject as well. She also told me that this lady used to. She was a healer, like a healer a natural healer, and she was at a clinic in London called the Hope Clinic, and Diana used to go to her to have treatment because Diana was into this natural alternative treatment, and she told me that what she called friendly people from MI5 would drop messages in to her clinic when they knew Diana was coming to communicate with her. And one of those messages was that she was in danger because they were planning to kill her.
What?
Yeah. And then sometime after that, a guy called Burrell, who was her Princess Diana's butler, came out and said, she basically knew that there was a plan to kill her. And I'd heard that before. And so then they kill her in the Pont d'Alma tunnel, which is the.
Could you imagine how terrified she was? Just her whole existence was knowing.
Oh yeah, but I mean, I could go on a lot more about what I was told about her. I mean, she was controlled by a extraordinarily evil woman who
the queen, right?
No, the queen mother. Well, yeah, I mean they're all freaking evil, but I mean the queen mother. Now the queen mother had this image of being the nation's grandmother. I think she died of over 100, the nation's grandmother. Oh, she's lovely. The Queen Mum. Oh, she was freaking horrible. And other people have told me that how deeply involved in Europe, never mind just Britain, that the Queen Mother was earlier in her life in terms of Satanism. And so this is what you're dealing with. These are the people running your world, ladies and gentlemen. And she treated Diana appallingly in the run up to the wedding, because she described herself as the Windsor's brood mare. She'd sussed eventually that she was just there to produce the kids. And if you then notice that after the second child, Harry, it all kind of fell apart then, because she'd done what she was supposed to do. And she basically knew it in the end. And there's a book I wrote called "The Biggest Secret." In 1998, it came out, still so relevant today. I read
it. That's when I read it.
Yeah, I tell the story of Diana's murder. That's what it was, in the Pont d'Alma tunnel in Paris. It was just.
Alex, can you pull up his book and show his book? It's on Amazon, isn't it, David?
Yeah, you can get it at Amazon. I suppose you can get it at davidicke.com, where we posted from within America, so you get it in 48 hours. Books I wrote back in the 90s, like "And the Truth Shall Set You Free" and "The Biggest Secret," they've really stood the test of time in terms of.
Oh no, I've read these are amazing books, folks. These are a must-have. I'd say both books are a must-have, a must-read. David, is there any chance, we're pressed for time here, but is there any chance that I can get you on to answer questions from my audience on ninoscorner.tv as a general in the general's tent? I do those every month, and we bring on a stellar type of a personality to come on and answer questions from the audience. Could I bring you on as a general in the general's tent?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. And I'm sure it'd be a packed house just to listen to your stories. I would like to talk about the reptilian shape-shifting. I'd like to talk more about CERN, the purpose of CERN, Princess Diana, your experiences. Although we are pressed for time right now, David, I really appreciate you coming on. I'm a big fan of yours. I believe everything you're saying. I agree with it. So thank you, sir. You're a huge patriot, and you're a fighter for humanity, and people need to hear this information. But people, I remember how tough you had it in the 90s, early 2000s, and now look what's happening. It's all coming to fruition. Everything you said is becoming mainstream. You were right on the mark.
Well, this is the thing, you see. One of the biggest prisons that people live in is the fear of what other people think, because that shuts them up. I better not say this, because if I do, I'm going to get ridiculed. People used to say to me, didn't you know when you talked about reptilians, you were going to get a load of ridicule? And do you know, I had worked that out, right? I had worked that out, funnily enough. But if it's crossed your line of credibility, you say it. Because it's no good, years later when you've kept stum, saying, "Oh, I knew this, I knew all this." Oh, yeah, of course you did, mate. But if you've said it and taken the shite because of it, then you have the credibility later on that you wouldn't otherwise have. And maybe then people will go, "Yeah, well, what else is this guy saying then?" So that's what's kind of happened. That's the process that's happened, and it's been all the ridicule, all the abuse, which is still going on, but not like it was. But it was all worth it to get out to people another version of reality that the authorities will never tell you.
Well, I'm just amazed, and I have my own theories on why, but I haven't seen you on Joe Rogan's show or like Sean Ryan, correct? You haven't gone on those shows?
No, Sean Ryan has never asked me.
It blows my mind why they would not have you on.
Joe Rogan has never asked me in all the years that I've been doing it. I've been doing it since 1990.
It blows my mind.
Tucker Carlson has never asked me. In fact, I had a very strange experience, really. After all these years, it was a few months ago, I guess now, my son, Jamie, he got a message from Joe Rogan's fixer saying, we'd like you on the show. And I thought, whoa, what now? Yeah, no problem. Would you come on? And of course, immediately, I don't know whether they thought I'd turn it down. I said, yeah. And they then started to-ing and fro-ing over flights and stuff like that. And then the next day, it came back. Oh, sorry, no. There's something gone on, and we've got a problem with guests or something, and we're not asking you anymore. That's it.
Yeah, I have my theories on this, but yeah, I would imagine that's what happened. I would imagine.
But you know, of course, if I was on the Rogan show, I'd have to talk about Elon Musk, his mate.
Yeah, right.
So that alone is a no-no, isn't it?
Yeah, and you blow the lid off the Matrix. And I've said it before, you know, and I'll say it again. I think a lot of this stuff that's coming out, right? These podcasters are meant to keep the lid on things to make it seem like they're open-minded and they're talking about everything, but they don't go to certain areas, man. They know not to touch certain things, which I'm going to pride myself and say I do that. And I have guests like you on.
Yeah. Well, you know, what I noticed after the unspeakable happened is suddenly a lot of people came out of the mainstream into the alternative media and got massive algorithmic support and funding. I'm
Maggie Kelly, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, I'm shadow banned like crazy on X. Me, funny enough, especially when I mentioned Elon Musk. But so, and I looked at this, and what I saw happening was, you know, there was a time in the alternative media, and there still is in the one step out from the center area, where they understood that it doesn't matter what you vote for, the government still gets in. In other words, left and right are just to get us fighting among ourselves when both parties are controlled by the same force. And that was good, because that sort of opens the door to actually so much of what's going on, that it's not left and right, it's what's behind left and right, and it's the same force. And what I watched happen was like a barricade built around exactly what you're saying, was built around the subjects they would cover. And what they did is they turned the conspiracy, which after the unspeakable word, many more people were open to. They turned it into, it's a political conspiracy, it's a financial conspiracy, and that's the level it operates at. It's that's what's going on. And of course, beyond that is the real story. They don't want you to know. And so I've seen this regression from, doesn't matter who you vote for, the government still gets in, to the left-right puppet show. Yeah, again, the polarization, and it's been done by these people, and of course they're pro-Trump, now they're anti-Trump. They're now anti-Israel. It's like, sorry, when are you going to switch back? There's at some point, like, you know, I mean, I was
fucking madness. I know, I'm seeing it.
I was calling Trump out in 2016 as a gopher for the deep state. Who was in there for various reasons I explained at the time, and I was saying in 2016, indeed I was saying in the 1990s, the left-right thing is just to get us fighting among each other, because they're both controlled by the same force. And if you look at the left or the right, the speed might be slightly different either way, but the direction of travel is exactly the same. And I'm still saying that Trump is a gopher for the deep state. Now it's more credible because of what he's done. But and I'm also still saying that the left-right is a scam to get us fighting each other. And so if you research something and you see something, then it's not going to change. Then subtly it might change here and there, but the basic premise is not going to change, because.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'll say this, Dave. You know, I am covering the deep state war as the best I can. I'm following the operation, this and that. But I can't deny the fact that these, you know, who's bringing in these AI data centers? It's Trump. And
Yeah.
and you know, I'll say on my channel, I back Trump a lot. I talk about Trump, but I cannot look away from what's happening with these data centers. Okay, I cannot. And it's my service to humanity to bring this to the forefront, like you do.
Well, can I just we'll just finish on one point,
Yes.
which relates to Trump. During the election campaign of 2024, when he was running to be president for the second time, I got so much abuse from the whole MAGA arena for pointing out two things: that he's a gopher for the deep state, Trump, and that he was going to do two things if he got in. One was he was going to demolish the current system, and he was going to weaken America, but he was going to demolish the current system for reasons I'll come to in a second. And the other thing he was going to do is facilitate the new system of AI digital control. And he's gone on to do both, because the mistake I suggest that people who support Trump have made is they've perceived him demolishing the present system as demolishing the deep state. It's not the same thing. No, he's doing the work of the deep state. What he's demolishing is the current system, which is a cult-controlled, created system. Yes.
Can I just say something here? Can I just say this? Tell me if I'm right. Tell me if I'm right. He's going to take down the deep state. Everyone's going to be cheering. He's going to have mass arrests and then replace it with fucking AI.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. This is the thing. What we've been seeing through what we call human history, and there's a lot more to know about that, is a sequence that's been leading to total human control through AI and digital and AI human fusion. But you can't go from where it was to that in one great leap. You've got to go in sequences. And so you introduce a new status quo after you demolish the previous status quo. And then when you think the time is right, you demolish that status quo and you bring in a new status quo. And where you're going with each step is closer and closer to your end goal.
Totalitarian tiptoe.
Yeah, totalitarian tiptoe. So what you do is you start before the First World War. The world was in a certain way. You have the First World War, demolish the world that existed before. You had the Versailles Peace Conference, when the winners then carved up the world, and they set the train in Germany for the rise of Hitler. You then had the economic system demolished with the Great Depression of the 30s, and then straight in to the Second World War. Now, by the end of the Second World War, when you had all these centralized global bodies like the Bretton Woods Agreement, the World Bank, the IMF, etc., the world was completely different at that time than it was at the turn of the century. And I was born in 1952, so that's 7 years after the Second World War. And pretty much the system that followed the Second World War has been in place until relatively recently. But the point is that if you have a status quo, a system, and it ain't moving, you're not going to replace it with something. You can't, because it ain't moving. What you have to do at each stage is demolish the status quo, because then you can bring in your new system on the road to your final goal. And so what Trump has been doing since he came to office the second time is demolishing the present system. And you have people like Mark Carney Prime Minister of Canada, who is cult to his DNA. He's especially in the financial area, head of the Canadian Central Bank, head of the Bank of England, head of many cult operations financially. And he's comes out and says basically what Trump's done is demolish the present system. We've got to build a new one. Yeah. So what's the new one? Well, the new one is AI digital control. And so what Trump is doing, and it's been mistaken as demolishing the deep state, bringing down the deep state, is demolishing the present cult system so the new one can take over. And when you look at it from that perspective, of course, the war with Iran has such massive implications for the lives of everyone on the planet in terms of prices, and if it goes on and on and on in terms of even supply, that if you want to destroy a status quo, things as they are, then withdraw those things that on which that status quo stands, and even add to that with your data centers, which are taking vast amounts of the energy, even the energy that is available, as well as the water. And now we're back to where we started. But it all connects in the end.
I wanted to talk to you about the CIA hunting bloodlines. Can you just touch on that just for 1 second? We're short on time, but can you just touch on what the hell's going on with that? That just made mainstream news that the CIA was using DNA databases to go after alien bloodlines.
Well,
do you have any?
Alien bloodlines. I mean, that they've been using DNA databases, not least the one that emerged with the Mormon Church, of course, famously, since way back. They are very why do they want a DNA database? What's their interest in all of that stuff? Because we have multiple. We're all in a kind of a human body, but we all have different origins in terms of where it came from. I mean, what's that? It says in the Bible, the sons of God who interbred with the daughters of men. Well, who were the sons? It doesn't say sons of God, actually. If you go back to the original, it says sons of the gods. And
the Watchers.
Yeah, and in the Bible, the word for God is invariably, especially in the Old Testament, is translated from the word Elohim, which is a plural, not a singular. So there's so much to know about what's going on, and we need to open our minds to it and not be limited by our current belief system. Because when you think that we can see this tiny narrow band of frequency, visible light, how can we know all there is to know, or all we need to know, when we can only see that? And it's a good place to finish. I've always followed the principle of whatever I know or think I know, there's always more to know. It's basically the one thing you can't dispute, which is whatever we know, there's always more to know. And there was a great quote from the Greek philosopher Socrates, who talked about to know is to know you know nothing. That is the secret of true knowledge, or words to that effect. Wisdom is knowing how little we know. And not that you'll just buy anything. That's the last thing you do. But you'll be open to the possibility, and you'll let it present its evidence to you, rather than just shut it out. No, it can't be, because this is my belief. It's very, very important that we all, whatever our belief systems may be, all realize there's always more to know, and we need to be open to it, because not being open to it is what they want.
And there's could be many truths that are right at the same time. Like I always use the pen as the concept here. I show the pen and say, you see the same pen I do from a different vantage point, from a different perspective. And there's a million different ways you can see this pen, but they're all true. And I feel like that's our reality. Millions of truths could be right for even one question we pose. You know, it's just all the perspectives, how
just
people
the
read it.
perspective you're looking at it. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I've got a microphone here. A microphone. I can talk about information, or I can bloody lie to you. But it's all coming through the microphone. The microphone is neutral. It's not good or bad. It's not evil or whatever. It's what you do with it. And that's the same principle with knowledge. You know, people talk about the occult. Well, the word occult just means hidden knowledge. And hidden knowledge can be used for horrific things, and it is, or it can also be used to give us a real, much more expanded sense of the world and ourselves and reality. It depends how you use it.
David, thank you so much for joining me. Can I get you to be a general in the general's tent late June?
Yeah, well, if you contact Beth, we'll sort something out.
Okay, I'll get everything lined up, and let's try to bring you on June. That'd be awesome. I know my audience is going to be salivating to ask you questions. So I would really appreciate that. Can you just stay with me one moment while I end the show?
Sure.
All right, folks, that's it. Thank you so much for joining. This was one hell of a show, about an hour and 42 minutes. I promised David I'd keep him 55 minutes and went a little longer. Good show. Great show. I love this guy, man. David, I wish you the best, and I'll see you at the General's tent on ninoscorner.tv. Folks, Live Forever special happening right now on ninoscorner.tv. If you want to upgrade, call the number. Call that number that I just forgot what the hell it was. Hopefully Alex can put it back up again. But thank you so much for joining me. There it is, 276-900-1793. All right, folks. David, stay with me just one moment. And the new heavyweight champion of podcasting, and the black sheep of broadcasting, baby. Later.